Hello everyone, Brian Yorston here. I'm just going to take you through the hop growing uh, cycle and take you through a few one or two interesting facts with the harvest, then perhaps talk about hops in general. So that's what I'd like to do today. The hop plant is a perennial that grows back every year and it lies dormant over the winter. So you can see here a hop garden or a hop yard which is a little bit bare. So February, just about the beginning of the hop growing. You can see the plant here. Last year's crop is just around about here, and you can just see emerging from the soil, beginning of March, are the young shoots coming out of the ground. I'm going to indulge you a little bit. This is my garden. This is March 24th, 2020, just after lockdown, and you can see that my hop plant in the corner of my garden is lying a little bit dormant. Of course, we're slightly further north than the hops grown in Worcester or Kent, so you can see we're a little bit behind in terms of the hops. But it'll be interesting to see how these hops develop. During April in the hop garden, the hop yard, you can see the poles are there. The wires are led across, and they start to string out the strings across the wires, and this is to allow the hop plant to grow up the rope work, string work, as it develops throughout the summer. In the past, certainly I've seen this when I worked at Shepherd Neame in Kent. People would go on stilts and do this job. It's a little bit easier if you're on stilts to actually string out than using a pole. Again, heading back to my garden, you can see the 3rd of April, just at the end of March, coming into April, you can see just here the young shoots coming out of my hop plant in the garden. But what is really interesting to me is just 1 week later, you can see how vigorous the hops have started to grow in my garden. So the energy must have been in the roots, and it forms these young shoots to try and form the shoots in order for the hops to grow until September. We'll see that as we go through the year. In a commercial hop garden, you can see these ladies have a back-breaking job. This is a dwarf hop, but they're trailing the strong shoots up the trellis there and get rid of all the weak shoots. And that's just to encourage a vigorous growth. You can see in a commercial hop yard here, you can see how fast this starts to begin to grow. This is May, June, and the hop plant actually grows at a tremendous rate. I've been told it grows at about 8 inches per day, or more precisely, it grows during the evening. It gets all the energy during the day and starts to grow tremendously. That's why hops are grown in this climate, because during May, June we have very long days, and that encourages this vigorous growth of hops. And of course, the hop plant has to be nursed, so during June and August the hop growers actually put lots of fertilizer on to control weeds, control aphid and caterpillar, red spider mite and powdery mildew. And one of the particular dangers for hop growing is, and it is a big art, is actually control verticillium wilt. So it's a fungal disease, and it can devastate a hop yard. It costs a lot of investment to grow hops, and if you get the wilt in, you're not allowed to grow, or you cannot grow any hops in that yard for a considerable amount of time. So wilt control is very important. I remember going to a hop garden, I think many years ago, and we had to walk in a disinfectant before we were allowed into the hop garden. So that's how seriously farmers take this wilt. So the plant starts to grow. Bear in mind that in the UK you can grow the male plant in the hop yard or hop garden, and it's allowed in the UK. It's certainly not allowed anywhere else in the world, but the male plant fertilizes the female plant, and it's said that you get a bigger yield with a fertilized plant, but the seeds produced as a consequence of fertilization give a harsh bitterness to the beer, which is fine if you're brewing an ale. But if you're brewing a lager, you don't really need those seeds in the hop plant. So if you found were a male hop plant in Germany, for instance, generally the farmers find. And I forgot to say that the hop plant is dioecious. That means there's a female part and a male part. It's the female cone which gives the brewer his bitterness and all the other flavours. So the male plant is purely there to fertilise the female plant, and as I said, in the UK, certainly in England, it produces a higher yield but a much harsher bitterness to the beer. And you can see here the female plant starts to burr in July, so it's beginning to form the cone which we use to produce beer. So this is my garden. This is my plant a little bit behind the plants down south. As you can see, on the 7th of August, and bear in mind these dates, the plant started to produce these burrs which will form the cones. On the 26th of August, you can see the cones are starting to form a little bit better.